Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Wanted to talk to you guys, today a little bit about, what the Big 12 is doing, what Brett Yormark is pushing back on with the college football playoff. Last week I talked about Brett Yormark was fighting the SEC and the Big Ten, and he's pushing back on it. And he is. The 5-11 format is something that it actually does make sense. Let me emphasize that. I believe it makes sense. I don't think there should be any guaranteed spots for anybody. I mean, guaranteeing 4 spots for 2 conferences and 2 for – I just think it's ridiculous. Let the teams base it on merit. But I also mentioned to you guys that as far as merit goes, how much is the college football playoff committee going to base it actually on merit? Because we've seen that committee just be absolutely ridiculous in who they put in or who they think should be in. So we got to talk about that a little bit today. So before we do, excuse me, remember to always like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments section like you guys always do, and always hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. Now, look, let's start here. Like I mentioned, I like the 5-11 format. It makes sense. It's fair on face value because just guaranteeing teams that they're going to get in, I mean, a conference. What if the conference stinks? Like, I'll just bring this up. You can get mad at me all you want, Big Ten fans. I usually have your back when it comes to stuff like this. But Indiana did not deserve to be in. They didn't deserve it. Okay? Flat out, I don't care what anybody says. Oh, they were 11-1. Hey, man, they didn't play anybody, and that includes inside their conference, okay? You look at that non-conference schedule. They back out of a game against Louisville, played some Rudy Poots, in non-conference. They played literally the bottom 7 teams minus Wisconsin in their conference. So 7 below average teams, 1 average team in Michigan, and then the national champions in Ohio State that they just so happen to get their head beaten in. They go to the playoff, get embarrassed by Notre Dame. It is what it is. They didn't deserve it. Period. End of story. So how often is that going to happen in this format of 5-11? Are you just going to take teams in? Now, our man Joel Klatt, and I love Joel Klatt, and he is an advocate for fairness for everybody. He's a Colorado alum, so I think he's got an allegiance to the Big 12. That's the conference that he actually played in. But he calls it down the line. He says, look, this 5-11 format, man, he's basically saying that because of the separation or kind of the fork in the road as far as what teams are going to look like 5 years from now, what these schools are going to look like 5 years from now, based on money, that the separation from the Big Ten and the SEC is just going to widen. I happen to agree with that. Tomorrow we'll talk about private equity, where the Big 12 has kind of taken a step away from private equity, which I think is a huge mistake. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Like I said, we'll probably dive into that tomorrow. But as far as the playoff format is, Joel Klatt is right. You look at it, it's like, look, in 5 years, what is this going to look like? And what are teams going to say? Because they're just going to base it on what they believe. Because Klatt is taking the high road because he has to take the high road because of his position. He's an analyst on Fox of the number 1 team, him and Gus Johnson. He's phenomenal at his job, number 1. And he takes the high road and just says based on money. What Joel Klatt is really telling you is they're going to screw the Big 12. That's what he's saying, and he would be right. Because here's the thing. He's like, look, if it went to a different format, this 5-11, that's 16 teams, look at what last year. There would have been 6 SEC teams in. And he's 100% right. There would have been. Because Alabama, South Carolina, and I can't even remember who else they left out. Somebody was crying about, should have been in. Okay, great. They would have made it. They would have made it in. That would have made 6 SEC teams. And then he says there would have been 4 Big Ten teams, which there already were. But Indiana, but whatever. And then he said there would have been 3 ACC teams, which he's correct. There would have been, because I believe Miami would have been in, and SMU and Clemson both got in. All right, well, that's what, 6, 4, that's 10, 13, then Notre Dame. Well, okay, so what are you talking about? There would at least been 2 Big 12 teams, and he's saying 1. I'm like, nah, come on, man. There would have at least been 2, which I get it. For conversation piece and for effect, he's saying only 1 Big 12 team. There would have at least been 2, and they probably could have fought for 3. So there's that. Having said all of that, 6 SEC teams? Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot. But he's right. There would have been, based on last year. But again, it's got to be fair. But is it going to be fair? Because we've seen that it isn't fair. We've seen the years that they penalize TCU for beating a team 55-3 and being the 3rd ranked team in the college football playoff, and then next week going from 3rd to 6th after blowing somebody out, all because they didn't play in a conference championship game. We've seen that happen. That literally happened. We've seen them say, hey, man, I know you're in the top 3 now, and I know you won your conference championship. You're 13-0, but you know what? We're going to put this other team in here because we think they're better. You know, the optics, because they didn't lose their quarterback. We're going to put them in over you, even though you've done everything that we've asked you to do. Win your conference, go undefeated. That doesn't matter. We've seen them leave a team out. So we've already seen the conference or the college football playoff committee not be fair. We've seen that happen. And there's no rhyme or reason for any of it. We hear the SEC screaming about, well, it's got to be about, wins and losses. We look at that more than we look at strength of schedule, which literally could be one of the dumbest statements I think I've ever heard in my life. You don't care about wins and losses? It's only about strength of schedule? What? Now, here's the pushback on that is I just badmouthed Indiana about their strength of schedule. You're 100% right. You would be right. And that's who he's really talking about, Greg Sankey. He's like, how the hell did Indiana get in? And Indiana's doubled down. They have absolutely doubled down because on their schedule this year, they just said, screw it. We don't care. 2024, we played Rudy Pooch. This year, we play Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. So Indiana's like, look, this is the way we can make the college football playoff. If we can upset a couple of teams because they play Oregon. Now, their conference schedule is a little bit more difficult because they have to play Oregon and they play Penn State. But other than that, it's manageable. It's very manageable. So that's Indiana's path. It's like, we play non-conference games. We're going to play absolute garbage in the non-conference. And if we can upset a team or two and finish in the upper half or near the top of the Big Ten, we're going to give ourselves a chance. And I don't blame them for it because they just got rewarded for that the year before. So why not continue to do that? It's smart, in my opinion. Like, we can bash on Indiana and their scheduling all we want, but it worked. So why not continue to do it? I mean, and the SEC can't cry and, hey, play non-conference games. We'll look at it from there. But don't be playing the powerhouses of, like UMass or Mercers of the world in the middle of November. Because that's what SEC does. Garbage teams. Just garbage after garbage in November. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So don't talk to me about strength of schedule when you only play 8 conference games. I just don't want to hear that. So the bottom line is Joel Klatt is right in a sense that it wouldn't be fair. And the Big 12 has got a problem. They do. Because you're counting on the committee being fair. You're counting on them saying it's always going to be based on merit. Well, number one, the process is never transparent. That's number one. Like, there's no, okay, we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this. We're going to look at this. We can get mad at March Madness and that selection committee because we're like, how are some of these teams making it in? You know, like this year, when they have 14 teams from the SEC make March Madness. And there was clearly 3 of them that had no business being there. But you could point to why they did put them in. And it was clear. The non-conference schedule of the SEC, they literally dominated college basketball. They just did. You can be as mad as you want. It was the truth. So you could look at that and say, hey, this conference is better than the rest of these conferences, man. And it's close, somewhat close, but they got a lot of really good teams in that conference. You could look at that and you could pinpoint to that. You can't do that in football when you're not playing these non-conference. You can't just say, there's non-SEC teams that are better than anybody else in any league. First of all, we know that's not true. But come on, man. You can't do that. You may have 2 or 3, okay? But that's it. That's it. And that's where the Big 12 is just counting on the committee to just be fair and transparent. Well, they've never been fair. It's never been transparent, So if that's the game you want to play and you want to just say, hey, we'll figure this out this way, that's a dangerous game. And that's what Joel Klatt is saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what a lot of people are saying, is that on face value, the 5-11 format, it works and it's the fairest way. However, or let me say this, it's not the fairest way, it's the way that makes the most sense. Okay, not guaranteeing spots for people, But again, you're counting on a selection committee to be transparent and fair where it's never been that. So how is that benefiting you? I understand what you mean. I understand what you say, but when it's never been that way, why should it change? Kind of like I'm talking about Indiana scheduling. Why would they change? They got rewarded for scheduling horribly. And then they got the benefit of the Big Ten giving them garbage teams to play, and they won. So good for them. And they doubled down and did it again. So again, when you're not looking at everything out of an equal lens, why would you expect it to be that way? It's not going to be. We know that. The only way, and I'll continue to go back to this, and I know you guys get tired of hearing me say it, but it's just the truth. The only way to make this more fair is you have to win. And you have to win in 2 categories. You have to be willing to take a 2-for-1 deal with a Big Ten, a Big Ten team or an SEC team, a 2-for-1 deal, and you have to beat them. You have to beat them. And then you have to win in the playoff. Now, winning in the playoff, I mean, I guess that would be reverse order because you want to win in the playoff first. But then in the non-con, you got to be willing to do it. Now, the problem with that is getting those teams to play you. That seems to be the problem. Regardless of what they say, they're not always just willing to play. They're not. They're not always willing to do that. So you got to convince them, whatever you got to do. Like I said, a 1-for-1 deal, not going to work. 2-for-1 probably would work. So you got to be willing to swallow some pride, put yourself behind the 8 ball a little bit, take some chances. But the payoff is great. The payoff would be phenomenal. That's what you got to do, man. It's going to come down to that. Like I said, I love the format. It does make the most sense, but it's risky business, man. It's just risky business. Not acting like, but wanting a format to be fair and balanced when it has literally never been that way in your benefit. It has never benefited you. Hell, I could go all the way back to when I played in 1998. Remember K-State? We were the number 1 team in the country. The computers had us 3rd. We qualified for the Big 12 championship game. We got punished because we lost that game in double overtime and couldn't go because I think we lost out by 0.04 of a point to Florida State, who had gotten the brakes beat off them early in the season by a team that was 5-6 on the year. Tell me how that was fair. Again, SMU got into the tournament last year because they said, they qualified for an extra game. We're not going to punish them, even though they lost. But BYU, who doesn't qualify for the game, beat SMU at SMU. Doesn't matter. That's what I'm talking about, people. It's that type of fairness that you're counting on. You're counting on them being fair when you literally saw them not be fair last year. Not 20 years ago, not 30 years ago when I played. Last year, you saw it. So we're kidding ourselves if we really think that it's going to be fair, man. It's not. And the only way to make it fair, you just got to go win. No more getting close. No more playing well like Arizona State. And I still say Arizona State got shafted. They did. And we all know it. Everybody that's realistic knows it. But no more. You got to win. You just got to win. So that's what it comes down to. I love the format. I love the premise of it. But it's risky business, ladies and gentlemen. Just risky business for the Big 12. I appreciate you all being in here. Thank you guys again for showing up like you do. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments. We're getting close to 4,000. I set a goal of trying to get to 4,100 subscribers by the start of football season this year. So if you know somebody that would love Big 12 content, let them know about Big 12 Insiders. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.